Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain an episode from an American adult animated anthology, Love, Death, and Robots, called The Drowned Giant. Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. At the beginning of the episode, 3 scientists drive to a beach, while one of them, named Steven, narrates about a naked, dead giant. The day before, a massive storm had hit the sea, which washed up a dead body of a giant to the shore. The surprised local fishermen contacted the officials, who at first refused to believe such atrocious news. But as people began to visit the beach and return home with crazy stories, the scientists decided to go see for themselves. And so, Steven and his colleagues, who thought that everyone was just bluffing about the dead giant, now stand before him. A crowd surrounds the corpse, scared to touch it before being absolutely sure that it's safe. Steven's colleagues guess that the man weighs somewhere around 80 tons. Steven narrates that the vast proportion of his features makes it difficult for them to figure out his age, but looking at the giant's defined nose and mouth, he believes that he had been a young man with a modest temper. The 3 go around the giant's body, inspecting him. Steven sees a pool of water that had been collected in the corpse's palm, where tiny fishes swim. Steven says that beyond the size of the giant, the simple fact that he exists surprises him the most. He compares the giant's existence to the crowd on the beach and concludes that they are just imperfect and puny copies of him. As Steven looks at the creature, mesmerized, his colleague climbs on top of the corpse's chest and waves towards the crowd, indicating that it is safe to come near it. The people run towards him while cheering and climb up on top. Some of them comment that the body is rubbery and bouncy. Children start playing on his chest, trashing it with their shoes. Steven, however, doesn't touch or climb on it. He and his colleagues stare at the giant from afar while writing their notes. As time passes by, the people get enough of playing with the dead giant, and everyone returns home. After 3 days, Steven visits the beach again. Because of his growing interest in the giant, his facility assigns him the role of keeping tabs on it. Steven claims that he wasn't morbid about keeping an eye on a dead person because, for him, the giant was more alive than the people around him. He watches as kids play slide on the corpse's chest, and some workers plan to butcher his femur bone. The following day, Steven deliberately postponed his visit to the beach until late afternoon so that no one would be around. When he gets there, the corpse looks in bad form and has started to decay. A teenage girl sits comfortably on the giant's ear, using it as a chair. Steven notices that the giant's face has a much less youthful look than it had before. He assumes it is because of prolonged immersion in seawater and tumefaction of tissue. As a crab crawls out of the giant's mouth, the scientist claims that it won't be long until he decays fully. Steven finally gets the courage to set foot on the corpse. Atop his chest, he sees a sandcastle someone had built. Then, his other arm comes into view, showing us that half of it has already decayed, and whatever remained of it has been taken away by the people. Meanwhile, his cornea has become hazy and cloudy, which gives his eyes a whirlpool effect. Steven looks at them, saying that the giant's suffering is less tragic than this isolation that he is facing. The next time he visits the giant, both of his arms and one of his legs have decayed and been cut. Steven walks around, looking at the corpse, which has been vandalized by teens who spray paint insults on his body. He is reluctant to witness the end of the magnificent creature, but the insults make him feel that the creature is more human, because it seems more vulnerable to him now. When Steven comes to the beach the following day, he is almost relieved to see that the corpse's head has been removed. Birds eat its flesh as Steven watches it from afar. Without the head, the corpse looked less human, which reduces Steven's relationship with the corpse that he had formed. After that day, he doesn't visit the beach for a few weeks. On his next journey, he witnesses that any feature indicating that the corpse was once human has vanished. The only thing that remains is the decaying gut of the once magnificent creature. By now, the interest of the crowd in the giant has expired. Months later, after the giant's arrival has been forgotten, various pieces of his body can be seen around town, especially his bones, which are used as decorations. While cycling one day, Steven notices the giant's skull lying abandoned. He believes that if he looks around the town's pubs, he will find mummified noses and ears as well. According to Steven, these decorations convey the giant's greatness, better than Steven's memory of his bloated and decaying appendages. As for the giant's genitals, it is shown that it had been cut off and placed in the Freak Museum in a circus. Steven narrates that the apparatus occupies a whole tent to itself, but is sadly mislabeled as belonging to a whale. At last, The scientist says that the people who saw the giant remember him only as a sea monster. However, for him, the giant is still alive, and he often dreams of his resurrection. In his dreams, the giant strides through the town, picking up his fragments on his return journey to the sea. The episode, although short, has a deep and metaphorical meaning in every scene. The fans of the episode have interpreted it their own way, but many believe that the narrator Stephen is the giant himself. Stephen feels the pain of the dead giant when no one else can. So, some fans think that Stephen and the giant are the same person. The giant might be trying to communicate through Stephen. Moreover, the way Stephen describes several stages of the decaying of the corpse in such detail makes one wonder if he is the one going through the stages. The decaying of the giant's corpse is also seen as a metaphor for several things. The narrator, Stephen, observes the decaying of the corpse very closely at every stage. First, he sees the process that was supposed to happen, that is, his body decaying by the passage of time. Then he notices people starting to amputate the corpse, treating it as a commodity. And the way humans treat him poorly showed him the extent of consumerism and exploitation that is considered normal in today's world. As the story progresses, Stephen begins to question what it means to be human, and when do we decide that we have lost humanity? Until the corpse had no head, he thought of it as a human just like him and the others around him. In fact, he believed that the giant was more of a human than tiny creatures like himself. However, after Stephen's sympathy towards the giant dropped, when he saw him only as a mass of flesh. Throughout the episode, we do not know who the giant is or where he came from. Rather, the drowned giant focuses more on the contrast of Stephen and other people's feelings towards the giant. In the book itself, J.G. Ballard concludes with the detail about the giant's appendage being displayed in a circus. This is to emphasize how much the giant was humiliated, even though he possessed a greater existence than them all. It also denotes humans' superficial and exploitative nature. Moreover, his genitals were labeled to be of a whale's, and his bones were mere decorations for the people. Here, it is clear that the giant has been completely stripped of his humanity. However, Stephen describes the genitals and decorated bones as the only things that convey how magnificent of a being the giant was. Although he loves and remembers the creature more than anyone else, he believes that his memory of his decaying body would have never conveyed his greatness the way his preserved body parts do. The giant was just a myth before being washed up to the shore. People experienced his arrival for a short while, but forgot about him soon, turning his existence into a myth once again. We humans, like the giant, will someday fade away and remain only in the memories of the people we met. But eventually, those memories will fade as well, and we simply cease to exist. Whew, boy, that got dark. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror sci-fi film called As the Gods Will. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. At the beginning of the movie, 3 students, Shun, Amaya, and Ichika, are shown, as a voice in the background complains to God about his dull and boring life. In the next scene, we see Shun along with his friends in the college classroom, where a doll watches Shun and Amaya finally emerge from the cube, where they are cheered by a large crowd. They are calling them God's children. Amaya rejoices, but Shun bends down in despair, declaring there is no God after all of his losses. One of the dolls corrects him, saying that God does exist. The movie ends as the same homeless man from before is revealed to be God. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain an Italian fantasy superhero film called The Invisible Boy. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. At the beginning of the movie, we see a boy named Michele Silenzi cycling to his school in Trieste, Italy. He has a €50 note with which he plans to buy a costume for a party. At school, he sits behind his longtime crush, Stella. Their class is interrupted by a police officer named Giovanna, who also happens to be Michele's mother. She is there to inquire about a student's disappearance. Giovanna requests the class to inform the police if they hear from the missing student. After she leaves, Michele's nose starts to bleed, so he runs to the bathroom. His bullies, who have been troubling him for a long time, threaten him into handing them all of his money. He goes back home, disheartened by the incident. He brings out a few pennies he had saved and decides to buy one with the money. Michele then visits a rusty-looking store and asks for a superhero costume. The shopkeeper hands him a skin-tight overall and a lousy cape. He claims that it is the suit of a Chinese superhero. Michele doesn't seem fond of the costume, but buys it anyway. When Giovanna returns home from work, she sees Michele in his costume, refusing to go to the party because he thinks he looks stupid. She reassures him that he looks good and sends him to the party. There, Michele enjoys himself and even talks to his crush, Stella. But then his bullies play a video of Stella walking through the street. They claim that the video was found on Michele's phone and that he has been stalking Stella. An embarrassed Michele runs to the bathroom and locks himself in. All of his classmates bang on the door from outside, asking him to open it. Michele is frustrated and wishes that he was invisible right before the lights go out. In the following scene, we see him jump out of the bathroom window and go back home. The next morning, Michele wakes up to his dog barking at him. He doesn't pay him much attention and goes to the bathroom to brush his teeth. When he looks into the mirror, Michele is beyond shocked to see just his robe in the brush. His body is invisible in the mirror. Michele rushes out and takes his robe off. Just then, his mother walks in and completely ignores the boy, proving that only Michele can see himself. When she starts looking around, Michele quickly writes that he has gone to school early on a piece of paper and places it on the bed. Giovanna reads it and dismisses the matter. After leaving the room, she calls Michele on his phone. An invisible Michele picks it up and tells her that he is fine. Confused about what he should do next, he dresses up in long-sleeved clothes. After covering every part of his body, he goes to school and watches Stella from afar. Michele then notices his bully and plans to teach him a lesson for troubling him so much. He takes his clothes off and walks inside the school naked and invisible. During class, he picks up the bully's paintball gun and uses it on the teacher, causing the teacher to suspend the bully. Then, Michele makes his way to the girls' changing room and watches them undress. Well, that didn't take him long. Suddenly, a towel lands on him, making his silhouette evident to everyone. Right then, his powers start to fade, making him visible again. The girls scream as they see a naked Michele under the towel. The next day, Michele is in his class, where a psychologist named Basili is giving a lecture about teens' mental health. 2 of Michele's classmates have run away from home in the past month, so he thinks it is necessary to understand teens' way of thinking. As Michele listens to the lecture, his hands start to glow, and suddenly, they disappear. Thankfully, the class is over, and he runs out before anyone can see him disappear. He rushes home, covering all parts of his body, and sees his little sister Candela in his room. Michele asks her to go downstairs while facing the wall. A suspicious Candela opens and closes the door to make it seem like she has left. Michele doesn't turn around to check and starts to take his clothes off. When he turns around, Candela screams in fear. Seeing her brother is invisible, Michele calms her down and tells her that his costume has given him superpowers. Meanwhile, at the police station, the psychiatrist Basili works with Giovanna to investigate the missing children. Giovanna insists that the children might be kidnapped, but Basili argues that they are just being rebellious, which is normal for their age. When Giovanna returns home, Michele is still invisible. Giovanna talks to someone on the phone, revealing that Michele is adopted. A surprised and hurt Michele walks out of the house to a nearby swing. While he is swinging, Stella arrives there and thinks Michele is a ghost. She doesn't seem to be scared, and instead asks him to be her friend. He makes a smiling face on the sand to communicate with her. The 2 decide to meet again. After Stella leaves, Michele sees a man nearby staring at him, even though he is invisible. The man walks away using a stick, revealing that he is blind. At night, Michele visits Stella's home. Stella is delighted to have made an invisible friend. The 2 kiss, but right then, Michele's powers start to fade. He runs away before Stella can see his face. Later, Stella is in her gymnastic class alone when a needle strikes her back. It makes her drop unconscious. Elsewhere, Michele has decided to tell Stella about him being the invisible boy. He makes his way to her gymnastic class with his dog. When he reaches the building, he sees a masked man carrying Stella. Michele attacks the man, and the dog bites his hand. However, the man manages to escape with the girl. Later, the police arrive at the scene. They figure that the missing children weren't running away but have been kidnapped. Stella wakes up in a strange facility with her head attached to several wires. The psychiatrist Basili is there, interrogating her. It turns out that he is the one who has been kidnapping the children. They run some tests on the girl and send her to a cell. 2 of her friends, who had gone missing before her, are there too. The following day, Michele is alone at a nearby beach when suddenly the blind man from the previous day appears in front of him. The man answers all of Michele's questions before he can ask them. It is as if he can read minds. When Michele asks him who he is, the man reveals that his name is Andrzej and he is Michele's father. The boy doesn't believe Andrzej and accuses him of lying. Andrzej then begins to tell his story. He used to be a normal man from a small town in Russia until a devastating nuclear explosion hit the town. The radiation killed a lot of people and made a permanent change in others. It caused their DNA to mutate, giving them unique superhuman abilities like flying, telepathy, being invisible, and so on. These people were called the Specials and were brought to a military camp called the Division to be used as weapons. The Division used them beyond their capacity. The more power the Specials used, the weaker they got. Another side effect was that everyone was infertile, except for Andrzej and Michele's mother. The two gave birth to Michele, who was the first special kid, but as soon as he was born, they took him away. So, the parents decided to run away with Michele, and were successful. But the people from the Division weren't going to back down. They pursued the couple to bring the child back. Michele's father had the power to read people's minds, while his mother had the power to be invisible. Andrzej managed to run away with Michele, but his wife was killed by the Division. Andrzej knew Michele wasn't safe with him, so he put him in front of Giovanna's door after reading her mind and confirming she was a good person. Now, the people of the Division have found out that the special kid lives in the town. So, they are kidnapping children and testing them to see if they are special. After listening to his true origin, Michele is shocked. He almost doesn't believe it, but Andrzej says that they do not have time to talk because the fisherman beside them thinks Andrzej is suspicious and has called the police. Andrzej hands Michele a suit that turns invisible, along with his body. He then removes the fisherman's memory and leaves. The police arrive shortly, along with Basili. Giovanna reveals to him that Michele is adopted, which makes Basili believe that he might be the special kid. He offers to take Michele home. When they reach home, Michele notices Basili's hand injury, which is the exact place his dog had bitten Stella's kidnapper. He looks at the man suspiciously and tries to run away, but it turns out that Basili has locked all the doors and is planning to abduct him. Michele runs into a room and takes off his clothes, turning invisible. He manages to escape while Basili follows him. When they are on the streets, Michele sees his bully, Ivan, on his bike. He sits behind him and asks him to drive away, quickly. A nervous Ivan obliges. When they reach a safe area, Michele reveals himself to Ivan and tells him about their classmate's abduction. Meanwhile, Stella and her friends see ventilation on the ceiling. They climb on each other, and Stella manages to step outside. While hiding from guards, she climbs a tower and reaches a searching light. Believing that her invisible friend is looking for her, she makes a smiling face on the light and flashes it up to the sky. Michele sees the smiling face and realizes that Stella is trying to hint at them. He and Ivan follow the light, but as soon as they get there, Stella is caught by the guards. Ivan causes an electrical malfunction using his paintball gun as an invisible Michele goes inside. He sees Basili and his men monitoring Giovanna and Andrzej, who have joined hands to look for Michele. He then goes further in and knocks out a guard. Using his gun, he threatens the other guard to open the cell, where Stella and the others are trapped. After getting them out and trapping the guards inside, Michele reveals himself to his friends, who are beyond surprised. The boys want to run away, but Stella insists that they save an old man who she has seen locked in another room. She and Michele go to save the man, but Stella takes him to the villains instead and points a gun at Michele. She suddenly falls unconscious, and the old man behind her starts talking. It turns out that he has the power of mind control. He has been controlling Basili and Stella to get Michele here. He then brings down a submarine and puts Michele and Stella in it. The men take the two into the sea. Just then, Andrzej and Giovanna arrive at the place and meet Ivan. The building has been set to explode in a few seconds. They quickly save the two abducted kids and Basili from inside. Andrzej reads Basili's mind and realizes that someone was controlling them. They quickly get away from the building, which explodes into pieces right after. Back in the submarine, Michele discovers his telekinesis power and starts trashing the place. Using his powers, he manages to kill the men and save himself and Stella. They finally get back to the shore, where a lot of people are waiting for them. Michele goes invisible in front of them, flaunting his power. Andrzej tells Michele that they will have to remove everyone's memories because the Division will come looking for them again. Michele obliges and kisses Stella for the last time. Andrzej tells Michele he will be back and leaves after erasing everyone's memories. Everyone then returns to their normal life. The scene cuts to somewhere in Russia. Michele's mother, who was thought to be dead, was only wounded in the encounter. She has defeated the division back then and is now ruling it. In fact, she was the one who sent those people to get Michele back to her. The woman is now against all the normal people who look at them as if they are freaks. At last, a guard informs her that although they lost Michele, they have found his twin sister, Natasha. A clip of the past shows us that Andrzej ran away with 2 children that day. The movie ends as the guard tells Michele's mother that Natasha is somewhere in Morocco, hinting towards a sequel. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a Japanese science fiction film called Terraformars. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Far in the future, overpopulation is about to destroy the planet Earth. To create a backup plan, in case our ecosystem fails, humans decide to change the atmosphere of Mars and make it suitable for human existence. The process is called terraforming. They start by growing a simpler form of life, like moss, on its surface. The moss would help to increase the temperature of the planet and make it similar to the Earth's temperature. To spread moss over its surface, genetically engineered cockroaches are sent. I hope you're taking notes, Elon Musk. It is now the year 2597. Somewhere in Tokyo, 2 criminals named Komachi and Nanao are being chased by the police. They run frantically through the crowd, but are caught. As the police surround them, a futuristic vehicle levitates in the sky and lands nearby. Inside the vehicle is Dr. Honda and his assistant. They're there to fetch the 2 criminals and use them for their own benefit. The doctor offers them to be part of the Mars colonization mission. Komachi and Nanao will have to go to its surface and eradicate all the cockroach colonies, since they are no longer needed. Dr. Honda promises to pardon their crimes if they agree to participate. The duo accepts the offer. Cut to 2 years later, Nanao and Komachi are now trained and are flying to Mars with other criminals like them in a spaceship called Bugs 2. Nanao is always skeptical of their competence because the team is made up of thugs and criminals. As she is talking to Komachi about the matter, the ship's captain, Keisuke Dojima, informs them that the ship is about to land on Mars's surface. He orders everyone to prepare for landing. After they finally touch down on the planet, they see that Mars is no longer red like it used to be. Rather, it looks more like Earth, spread with green moss. Lieutenant Mina launches a device that secretes chemicals into the air to kill the cockroaches. The captain then orders them to spread around in a group of 2 and see if the eradication process is working. They plan to meet in 3 hours and choose their team members. A team member named Asuka is paired up with Yakuza, but she strangely insists on being with the group's computer specialist, Ichiro. The captain accepts the request, not wanting a conflict to arise. The team's drones then locate another ship sent 10 years ago, called the Bugs 1, nearby. Dojima contacts the doctor and tells him they are ready for the first contact. The doctor starts to jump excitedly, anticipating the results of the mission. The groups then step on the surface and start searching for dead cockroaches. The 2 members named Jen and Maria are confused to see no cockroaches on the moss. As they continue looking, suddenly, the 2 come across 3 strange creatures standing right in front of them. They quickly hide behind a rock in fear. They had not been told about such large creatures who look like human-sized anthropomorphic cockroaches and have clubs as weapons. Meanwhile, Komachi and Nanao, who are also looking for dead cockroaches, come across the same creature. Komachi is fascinated and tries waving at it, but within seconds, the creature attacks Nanao and snaps her neck. It then runs away in a flash, leaving Nanao's limp body on the ground. Nanao dies in Komachi's arms, and he watches her in distress. Just then, Jen's team arrives and tells Komachi about their encounter. The creatures have also killed Asuka. They rush back to the ship and tell the captain about the creature, only to find out that the captain knew about them from the very beginning. He was ordered not to tell the team members about the creature by the doctor. The captain explains that the cockroaches that were sent 500 years ago evolved at a rapid speed because of the abundance of radiation and now have turned into creatures stronger than humans. Now, the doctor appears as a hologram in front of the team and assures them that they have nothing to worry about. The doctor had been preparing for this very moment for a long time. He has prepared distinguished injections for every member that will grant them the superpowers of several insects. The drug will enhance their DNA by combining it with that of the insect. Using those unique powers, they can battle the evolved cockroaches. However, the members do not want to fight the cockroaches. Rather, they want to abort the mission and fly back to the Earth immediately. But soon, their ship is surrounded by the creatures. One brave team member, named God Lee, volunteers to divert the cockroaches until the others restart the craft. He heads outside and injects himself with the chemical that the doctor had provided. As soon as he does that, a rapid mutation starts inside his body, turning him into a hybrid between human and ground beetles. Now, Lee is able to shoot out flames from his body, as beetles do. With his new powers, Lee battles the cockroaches, who seem to be as powerful as him. He uses his unique power and shoots fire from his hand. The force from the flames pushes the creatures back and burns them, but when it subsides, it is seen that only the exoskeleton of the creature is burnt. A cockroach then runs towards him and kills him in a flash. Meanwhile, another cockroach latches itself to the spaceship and breaks its windows. It enters the craft and immediately kills 2 of the members. The captain quickly injects himself with the drug and starts to evolve. His DNA is mixed with the DNA of bullet ants, who have the ability to carry things that are 100 times their weight. The captain then easily smashes the cockroach to the floor and kills it. The team celebrates, but their happiness is cut short when they notice a crowd of cockroaches heading towards the ship on the radar. Knowing that they cannot battle them all, everyone decides to take off and go back to Earth. However, when the lieutenant tries to start the ship, the engines malfunction and the system shuts down. It seems as though someone has deliberately sabotaged the ship to stop it from taking off. The captain quickly thinks of a plan. He wants the team to go to the Bugs 1 and bring all the necessary parts they will need to fix Bugs 2, while he fights the cockroaches. Everyone agrees, but Ichiro asks to stay behind with the captain and help him before making his way to the other ship. Komachi goes to see Nanao's corpse for the first time. He notices weird strings coming out of her mouth, but doesn't think much of it. Now, the team gets inside the Mars rover, which will have to travel through a horde of cockroaches. A member named Tezuka offers to help them avoid the creatures and injects himself with the drug. He evolves into a Mackley bug who can shoot out projectiles of gases in the form of flame at a very high speed. He uses his power to propel the Mars rover forward through the crowd of cockroaches. Meanwhile, the captain fights the cockroaches inside the ship with all of his might, but more and more of them keep entering. He quickly makes his way to the control room and vacuums out the oxygen inside the ship, so all the cockroaches inside would die due to suffocation. His plan works, and soon the cockroaches start to fall unconscious. But the lack of oxygen harms the captain as well, making both him and Ichiro fall to the ground. At the same time, the team inside the rover sees something massive approaching them. When they get a clear look, they are surprised to see a massive wave of millions of cockroaches coming their way. Tezuka still doesn't back down and uses all his power to propel the ship forward. They strike the creatures and soon land safely on the other side of the cockroach wave. The group then happily moves forward, but not long after, another wave approaches them. This one is even larger than the first wave, containing millions of creatures. Tezuka cannot handle them together, so 2 of the team members named Maria and Osaku transform themselves into their hybrid versions as well. The 3 try their best to fight off all the creatures, but the rover flips and aggressively lands on the ground. The 3 are thrown to the ground, while the ones inside the rover are knocked out. The rover turns out to be on autopilot mode and takes the members to the destination ship. Tezuka, Maria, and Osaku try fighting the horde of creatures, but are eventually killed. When the group inside the rover gains their consciousness back, they are already at Bugs 1. They make their way inside while 2 members guard the entrance. Mina tries to run a diagnostic of the ship, and they soon realize that the ship is transmitting data to someone on Earth. Just then, the group hears gunshots and rushes outside. Both of the guards have been killed. The cockroaches have found the weapons in the Bugs 1 and are using them to fight. Komachi injects himself with the drug and mutates into a massive hornet. With his newfound powers, he can punch holes through the cockroaches' bodies and kill them in one go. Gen does the same and turns into a desert locust that can jump up to 90 stories high, while Mina transforms into a praying mantis that can slash the cockroaches into pieces. The team battles the cockroaches and kills them in no time. The scene changes to the doctor calling someone. The phone is picked up by one of the cockroaches on Mars. Unlike the other cockroaches, it can speak Japanese and communicate with the doctor. He warns the insect not to get close to Komachi once he transforms because his insect is extremely dangerous. After ending the call, the cockroach goes inside the ship Bugs 2 and recirculates its oxygen. Then, the creature's body tears down the middle, and out emerges a transformed Asuka from inside. The team had thought she was dead, but it turns out that she was on the doctor's side the whole time. Her unique power after being injected is that she has the ability to control the cockroaches' minds, just like an emerald cockroach wasp. So, she manipulated the insects to go against each other and survived. She then kills the captain and pours water into Ichiro's body. Ichiro, too, has been in on the plan since the beginning. His body has transformed into the Asian coronavirus, Coronamide, a creature who can survive in extreme conditions and only needs water to reactivate. The doctor has assigned them on a mission to bring a cockroach egg back on Earth, so the Japanese government can breed them and use them to strengthen their military. This was their prime mission, and the cockroach eliminating mission was just a decoy. Ichiro and Asuka then take off the ship with the egg in it. However, the egg starts to hatch midway and gives birth to 2 evolved cockroaches. Asuka tries to use her power to control them, but it doesn't work. The creatures are far more evolved from the others, making them the most powerful ones of them all. They kill Asuka and call their own kind for help. The cockroaches on the surface hear the call and flap their wings to fly to the ship. When a swarm of cockroaches latches onto the ship, it starts to malfunction and crash beside Bugs 1. The evolved cockroaches come out of the ship and order the others to attack Komachi and the group. Komachi injects himself with the other dose of the drug, speeding his evolution. They do not have much difficulty fighting the normal cockroaches, but the evolved ones are hard to defeat. One of them kills Mina after ripping her arm off. Jin injects himself with the second dose of the drug, while Komachi is on his 3rd dose. With their heightened powers, they kill more cockroaches rapidly. However, the creatures are nowhere near backing down. Jin injects himself yet again and develops a pair of wings. Now, the cockroaches fly in the sky and battle him. They attack the 2 in waves and do not die down because of their number. Eventually, Jin realizes that to defeat them, they should defeat the evolved leaders. He injects himself multiple times with the drug, speeding his transformation and making it irreversible with every dose. After that, he kicks one of the leaders and knocks his head off with immense power. But now he has used all his powers and cannot fight anymore. Komachi tries defending Jin from the other leader, but is defeated easily. Before the leader can kill them, a magical glowing creature comes flying towards them. It spreads glowing dust all around as everyone looks at it in awe. The flying creature is Nanao, who has evolved into her final form. Komachi flies towards Nanao, but before he can get her, one of the cockroaches fires at him. However, the dust Nanao has spread turns out to be tiny explosives that cause a chain of explosions, taking all the cockroaches with them. Jin flies away before the explosion can get him and saves Komachi just in time. However, Nanao dies in the explosion. Sometime later, Komachi wakes up and sees Jin has completely turned into an insect. Jin asks Komachi to go to Earth without him, as this is his new life now. Komachi obliges and makes his way to the ship. Before he can reach inside, he sees that the leader is still alive. He punches the weak cockroach, but spares his life out of kindness. Inside the ship, he finds Ichiro, still alive. Ichiro saves Komachi's life by shooting the cockroach behind him. The 2 then finally launch the escape pod and fly away to Earth as the cockroaches watch them. Back on Earth, the doctor notices that Ichiro has hacked into their system and is broadcasting the whole encounter worldwide. The doctor's assistant starts to panic now that the Japanese government's secret is being revealed to the world. However, the doctor seems calm and says that he will sell all the Bugs' data to other governments of the world that are willing to buy them. The assistant points her gun at the doctor, as she turns out to be a spy for the Japanese government. But the doctor is already ready for the attack, dodging the bullet with a protective barrier. He then kills the assistant with a poison that was inserted in the lab in the case of an emergency. Back in the spaceship, Ichiro vows to expose everyone involved on the mission. When asked what he wants to do when he gets back to Earth, Komachi replies that he will make tombs in the memory of everyone who died, and then come back to Mars again. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching. Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I am going to explain a British psychological thriller film called Exam. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. At the beginning of the movie, 8 candidates are shown getting ready for a hiring examination for a profitable corporate job. Some candidates motivate themselves with encouraging words, while some add a few touch-ups to their appearances before moving to the examination hall. The place is dimly lit, with desks for every candidate kept uniformly throughout the room. It also has cameras to monitor their activities. After the 8 of them are seated, a guard with a gun enters the room, visibly making the candidates nervous. He is followed by a man who doesn't tell them his name and simply introduces himself as the Invigilator. He then apologizes to them for the hardships they have faced to reach this room, revealing that the candidates have passed all the previous hiring processes and are the finalists. If they pass this last test, they will be getting the job of their dreams. As the rule of this test, the Invigilator claims that no federal law applies inside the examination hall, and the candidates are supposed to follow only the law of the exam. They are not allowed to communicate with the guard or the Invigilator. Similarly, if they ruin the paper intentionally or accidentally, and if they walk out of the room for any reason, they will be disqualified. The candidate will have 80 minutes to complete the test. There is only one question on the paper before them that they need to answer. The Invigilator then asks them if they have any questions. When no one answers, he wishes them luck, starts the timer, and walks out. The candidates turn their respective papers around and see that it is completely blank. All of them look at each other in confusion. As time passes, they become more nervous. Hence, candidate number 2 starts writing on her paper why she thinks she is eligible for the job. The camera in the room zooms into her paper, and the guard is told to throw her out because she ruined her paper. Number 2 begs for a second chance as the guard locks the doors on her. A while later, number 5 realizes that the rule says they cannot talk to the Invigilator and the guard, which means they can talk to each other. He tells the others the same thing, making them believe that they will have to work together to find what the question is before they can answer it. The group discusses several ways they can pass the test, but all of them are just as confused. This is just like real exams. Throughout this, candidate number 1 doesn't speak at all. One man tries to introduce himself, but number 5 suggests they give each other pet names so they wouldn't have to reveal their true identity. He goes on to name candidate number 1 Deaf because he hasn't spoken yet. Then, the guys are named brown, black, and white, according to their race, and the girls are named blonde, brunette, and dark, according to their hair color. After that, White suggests they get up from their seats, because there is no rule that says they cannot. He takes a chance and gets up. To everyone's delight, the guard stays put, meaning that they can move around freely. Brunette believes that the questions are written down on paper with invisible ink or a watermark. They all agree to test the theory, but do not know how to. Brunette gets up and uses the lights in the room to see if something is written on the paper. However, nothing is visible. She still insists everyone check their own because the question could be in just one of them. Everyone does as she says, except for Deaf, who stays quietly in his seat. White takes his paper and checks it in the light. When they do not get any results, Black suggests the writings might be visible in UV rays or X-rays. The group then starts looking for a switchboard to see if there is any option to turn on other kinds of lights. When they do not find one, they start to look for the source of such light themselves. Deaf doesn't help them whatsoever and nervously stays in his seat. Blonde finds strips of emergency lights in the room, but since there are no switches, the group has to break all the other light bulbs to create an emergency and trigger the lights. Brown retaliates, saying that they cannot take such a risk. So, they vote on the matter and eventually decide to go forth with the plan. After breaking all the light bulbs in the room, it suddenly glows blue because of the emergency blacklight. Everyone starts to look for the question in the paper except for Deaf, but they are disappointed again because they cannot see the question. Brunette asks everyone to remove the first layer of the strip light because they aren't lit. This might give rise to UV rays, which can help them. They use the woman's heels to break the strips and reveal another form of light. However, they are again met with disappointment because these lights do not work either. Now, the group only has 60 minutes left. A frustrated White asks everyone to think of alternatives. As they brainstorm ideas, White registers that they can do anything to number 2's paper since she is already disqualified. So, they gather around her desk and try tracing the paper with a pencil. Still, no question comes forth. White then tears her paper into sections so that they can use them to experiment with different methods. Next, he pees on one of the papers to see if it is liquid activated. However, that doesn't work either. Black and White get into a heated argument while discussing what they should do next, but they stop after hearing Deaf cry. He sobs silently in his seat while the others watch him in amusement. After that, the man starts to blabber in French. He asks them if they can see something in the paper and claims that the paper reflects their image. They do not think much about his blabberings and get back into discussing ideas. Everyone falls dead silent when Brown speaks. He proposes a theory of his own, claiming that they are not in an exam, but are in some kind of betting show. The board members of the company have placed bets on who will crack under pressure, and the sole purpose of them being there is for their entertainment. Brown has been watching Squid Game. Brunette thinks that the board members probably have better things to do with their time, but according to Brown, money is the least of their concerns. With the amount of money they have in their life, the board members probably live for the risks. Now, everyone comes forward with their own ideas. Some claim that the Invigilator might be behind this, while others say it might be the CEO. They begin to crack under pressure and insult each other. Dar confidently says that there are no people watching them because the CEO is hands-on in the company. He has all of the company's rights and power over everyone. It is clear that she knows more about the company than anyone else. Brown asks her how she knows so much about the CEO. It turns out that Dark is already working for the company in HR, but has never seen the CEO. She applied for a higher job, and now she is here. White then reveals that he was headhunted and offered the job, but the others say that they applied for it. However, one thing they have in common is that they do not know anything about the company or what it does because they were told not to ask any questions. Dark then explains that they are applying for a famous multi-million-dollar pharmaceutical company called B-Rog. A few years ago, when a pandemic spread among young people of the world, they were the first ones to find the cure. Currently, their yearly turnover is $20 billion, all because of their CEO. Suddenly, Black suggests that the company might have found a cure to the newest deadly disease that has been killing millions of people around the world. Brunette is suddenly intrigued and asks Dark more about it. This makes White suspicious, so he asks Brunette if she is also infected by the virus. Brunette says she isn't and dismisses the matter. To take the attention off of herself, she approaches the guard and brings a lighter out of his pocket without talking to him. Then, she glances at the fire alarm. The group plans to use the lighter to trigger the sprinkler because water can potentially develop the writing on the paper. For this, Brunette gets on top of a chair but doesn't reach the fire alarm. White helps her by giving her a rolled up piece of paper that she lights up and uses to trigger the alarm. Soon, water starts showering, but the papers stay the same. Suddenly, the guard makes his way to the group. Right then, Brunette unfolds the paper in her hand and reveals it to be her own. White had betrayed her to loosen the competition. The guard drags Brunette away as she calls White a bastard. Following that, an enraged Black says he will punch White's lights out. This makes the lights go out, and the group figures they are voice activated. They ask each other to be careful with what they say when Def starts to cry again. White slyly sits in front of him and bullies the poor guy into tearing his own paper and eating it. The guard approaches Def and sends him away as well. Now only 5 of the candidates are left. Black belittles White for being an awful person, but White insists they should thank him for getting their competitors out. He also claims that he knows what the question is, but refuses to tell the others. In a fit of rage, Black knocks him out with a single punch. The group then ties him to a seat and covers his mouth with a tie. A while later, White gains consciousness. Dark removes his gag, and he asks for his medication, saying that he is also infected with the virus and has to take medicine every hour for him to live. Black searches for pills in his pocket, but doesn't find one. This makes the group believe that White is just making excuses, so they will free him. However, White claims that one of them has taken the pill and promises to tell them what the question is, if they give it back. Soon, he loses consciousness again and starts to tremble. Some believe he is faking, but Black says he is having a seizure because of the virus. They start looking for the pill he was talking about, but cannot find it in the room. With only 15 minutes left on the timer, they check each other for the pill. Dark suspects Brown for taking it, and is proven right when she finds the pill stuck to some chewing gum under his table. She tries to feed it to White, but Brown throws it in a vent. As the others try to get it out, a stressed Dark goes in front of the camera and asks the Invigilator to save the man, but since she talked to the Invigilator, she is immediately disqualified. After she is gone, Blonde brings the pill out with a bobby pin and saves White's life. She also unties him in the process. After he recovers, everyone asks him for the answer he promised. White reveals that the answers are the candidates themselves. They have been searching for a question all this time, but White thinks that there is no answer, and the one who is left at the end is the answer. The rest of them believe him, but before they can act, White runs to get the gun from the guard. Black pushes him aside and acquires the gun himself. He points it at White, who confidently claims that he won't shoot anyone. Simultaneously, he attacks Black and gets the gun. However, when he is about to use it, he realizes the gun has fingerprint recognition. So, White uses the guard and points the gun at the others. He threatens everyone to get out of the room on their own so he can win the position. Brown doesn't retaliate with the fear of being shot and deliberately walks out. A scared Blonde slowly walks outside, but yells "lights out" at the end. The room goes pitch dark, making White shoot in random directions. When the lights come back, Black falls limp on the floor with a bullet hole in his chest. White looks around and sees Blonde still has a foot inside the room. He is about to shoot her as well, but notices that the timer has stopped. Now, White walks to the camera and tells the Invigilator that he is the winner of the competition. The guard approaches him and shows him the time. White is in shock to see they still have 20 seconds left, meaning that he is disqualified for talking to the Invigilator. It is then revealed that Def had changed the time while they were busy discussing other things. At last, the only one left is Blonde. She walks into the room and picks up Def's glasses that had fallen while he was being taken out. Using those, she looks at the paper and sees question 1 written on it. To her utmost surprise, Def enters the room, revealing that he is the CEO of the company and was in the test to keep an eye on everyone. Blonde walks up to him and says no. The CEO and the Invigilator smile, seeing that she has figured out the question and passed the test. It turns out when the Invigilator asked them if they had any questions at the beginning of the test, it was the only question they had to answer. The whole exam was set to test the candidate's intelligence and attentiveness. They hire Blonde as the CEO's secretary, but she doesn't accept the job because she doesn't want to work with an organization that kills people. The Invigilator reveals that Black isn't really dead, and that the bullet he got hit with is a capsule that heals the wound after penetrating the body. It is actually the magical medicine they have recently manufactured, which can cure any disease in the world. At last, Blonde accepts the job, and the movie ends as she shakes hands with the CEO. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.